Do you think if Jinx made a rocket on level, she would be competitively viable? Probably. That would be a really big buff. So we encounter the mirror. We've got odds, which means he's got evens. We have our nut draw of Sentry. Kato on odds, I think, is actually going to be really good. I think this is a full keep. I think Kato on 5, attacking on 5, is going to be kind of insane. He'll play Basilisk on 4, and we'll nut out with Sentry on 4. I mean, this looks like a really, really powerful setup for us. It's like, I don't think we're going to need Basilisk Rider to be winning this one. And we even have Sabo against Pet, which is pretty great. This is like the one time where Sabo feels better than Pet, which is where it's against Pet. Yeah, obviously there's more than that one time, but I kind of hate this card. I mean, I'm not going to cut it. It's a necessary 3 of, but it just feels bad. But we can trade down like pretty aggressively here. So our spot gets better. I think this Reckless Trifarian is going to absolutely crush this game in such a ridiculous way that nobody will be able to deny that it's a stupid card. This card is about to come down for what I can only say is like really, really, really insane value. This is a funny consideration to play Demo as a 2-mana 2/3 right now, actually. It's like we don't have tricks in we don't have any spell mana in the hands. The thing is though, it's like within 3 turns we're gonna have 2 mana banked and potentially a third one if we draw something like Might or Whirling Death. And banking that as a safety can be pretty useful. That's why you traded, because of the Trifarian. Pretty much. I'm definitely less inclined to take that trade otherwise. Okay, so this attack should be, obviously completely necessary. So he has to choose which one of his units he wants to give away here. He's choosing the Spider, which, I mean, from our perspective, is probably better for us. So we've got 2 draws to hit a spell. Whirling, Might, Transfusion, but all hit pretty hard. Snap, Sentry, the Rider, and now we've got a pretty insane board. I mean, he can attack with his 4/3, and we have a 3/2. Beautiful. I don't mind taking 2 damage there. Our Kato on 5 is going to be an absolute blowout that he can't possibly have an answer for. This is going to be ridiculous. So you look at like this version compared to the other version, and it's not as if the mirror matchup is like proof of anything. It's just one matchup. It doesn't matter if like a deck can beat itself. It doesn't make it a better deck. But just like look at how this is played out and look at how favored we are from these swaps. Like it does, the one thing about this situation that is really, really quite bad is that we have 3 spell mana and no spells. And that is pretty awful. That's like, maybe it was a misplay to not play the Disciple on, or Demolitionist on 2. Something about the mulligan perhaps? I don't know. I mean, I think it's more likely it's just either bad luck or incoherent ratioing. But yeah, this is pretty bad. Like potentially game losing, having like 3 mana that we just don't have access to. I really enjoyed your YouTube discussion video. Yeah, it's a whole series. I did a whole talk about it, and I think that it's really interesting, or at least I find it interesting. So like this attack just puts him in such an awkward position. Like look at this. Like look at this. Look at this. Ridiculous. Again, this spell meta might actually lose us the game though. We'll see, we'll see. It's pretty awful. It's pretty awful. I don't know, dude, that's 7. We should acknowledge that there's been a pretty consistent pattern meta to meta where we sort of like I swear it happens every single patch where it's like halfway through we were like, wait, why were we running those champions? They just suck. And that's like, I mean, we've seen this happen literally time and time again. I mean, that's what's happening here. It's like, why are we running these champions? They just suck. I don't know. I kind of like this block. 8. Am I scared of 8? I could be. I mean, I do need to clock him next turn though. I think with our hand that should be very possible. You know what? I should actually probably block this, right? Because the only thing that matters is clocking him next turn, which I don't think he can stop. And so like having this 2 extra health could actually potentially make us not lose the game to a really, really specific hand. So now we're just gonna develop full. Pretty straightforward stuff. It's the 3 and the 3, and then the 2 and the 5 next turn. I guess we do have the question of which 2 do we want to play, but I don't think that's much of a question. So yeah, I mean, again, like, just compare Kato to Darius. Like, if he has Darius in his hand, it's doing literally nothing. It's, like, so incredibly far from nothing. Our 2 Katos are winning us the game at 5 mana. It's a really, really, really one-sided comparison. And this is why, I mean, I know it's a hot take, because most people like Darius. I think Darius literally has always been a bad card. I think that card has never been good. He's run a lot at high levels, and he has a high win rate, but I mean, a lot of cards have those exact patterns, and then we end up realizing they're bad. And I mean, I would pretty happily put him in that category. So I don't really, unless I'm kind of like missing something. Yeah, he shouldn't be able to win this. Am I missing something? The safest play is Demo? Because I've got the Overwhelm that I need already, right? I don't see a lose condition here, unless I'm just having like a weird brain oopsie. Who knows? It's like quite a decent amount of damage. Basically, the only way he can survive is transfusion, right? That's his like one outer. Okay, fairly straightforward. Darius just seems like it's carried by the rest of the deck, and that's exactly fucking right. And that's the missing link. It sounds like an incoherent statement, so I'll make the claim, and I've said this before, and I've been proven right before, and don't get me wrong, it's not like I'm always right. I've been proven wrong before too, but like, I'll say X card is bad, despite X card having a really high win rate and being really prevalent at high ranks. And that seems like it shouldn't make any sense, but in reality, it's happened 3 or 4 times in the history of this game so far that there's a card that is kind of suboptimal, but ends up being really carried by the rest of the deck. In fact, that's like a lot of the deck building in this game ends up with those patterns. I think a really good example is Quinn early on. I actually think Quinn is kind of decent right now. The Genevieve buff makes her a lot better than she was. But like at the start of the Bilgewater expansion, like we all knew Quinn was bad, but I mean, everyone was playing her. She had a really high win rate. And yeah, for 3 weeks, after 3 weeks, people realized, oh wait, but it's a bit better if we just cut the Quinn. And that's what happens. So this is an interesting one. We don't have a turn 1 attack, and most importantly, we're not attacking on 5. So Kato's going to lose value. Last game, we kept a Kato because A, we had a made hand, we had a turn 1 play, and B, we were attacking odds. I can't keep Kato here at all, unfortunately. Transfusion also can't be kept, and as cute as Ballista is, I really need to dig for something good, right? So we are forced into a full mulligan here, which feels pretty uncomfy, and we'll see how it goes. I will say, last game we had a pretty big disadvantage of not having a Basilisk Rider, which is no good. You want to draw that card. We had a good enough hand that it worked out anyway, but if we're attacking on evens without a Nuts hands, and he has a Rider and we don't, we should lose. For sure. Like, we should always lose given all of that. Thoughts on if they balance the will to cost greater of 4 or the card you're willing? They wouldn't. They would just make it 5 mana. There's no reason for that card to do anything fancy. The card by design is meant to be somewhat basic and effectively, yeah, there's not enough of an upside to overcomplicating it, honestly. I probably do just have to take this double block here, because we can't really race him down. Like, he kind of has the head start, so he can just like race us down and threaten to win the race, which is not good. Like, in a lot of situations, like being ahead, it's like the rich get richer, right? Like, reasonably speaking, when you have a good head start, you can use that tempo to force the opponent into an even worse position, and it can sometimes like snowball a little bit, and that's why it's very important that health doesn't like diminish your ability to hit buttons in these kinds of games, because that wouldn't really make too much sense otherwise. Okay, we'll go ahead and take this attack. I think this is perfectly fine. If he was gonna block with a spider, I would have been fairly happy doing like a might block. I think it's pretty fascinating that he didn't block there. That seems kind of weird. So if he passes back to me now, Fervor is really in his range, which is really sad, because like Demolitionist should be solid here, especially because we want to be like blocking out more aggressively. If we force him to Fervor off of this, I think I'm actually okay with that, honestly. That would be fine. At the end of the day, I need to peel off his aggression. We can actually kill him on our next attack on turn 6, because we have Trifarian, Kato, and Might. The only important thing is surviving one extra turn. And surviving one extra turn does mean we will have to do something a little bit differently. In this case, we'll go ahead and Fervor our Trifarian into this. Will we? Why did I say that? Are we doing that? It's like, do I want to just lose the transfusion? He hasn't played a single transfusion. We tap under our blocker. Why would I do that? I don't think that can make sense. The funny thing is, we're actually winning off of an open attack, which means we can actually go down to 4 against Decimate, which you normally wouldn't be able to do. Not here, because he has 6 mana up, but... Okay, we can go ahead and like take these blocks. So this threatens 6. He will have like the 6 mana here. So the question is like, what's in his range? I think Fervor is honestly not in his range. I think he actually might have gone in for the Fervor on the Disciple if he could have, honestly. Oh man, he could totally have Poro emoted while holding Fervor. That's actually so possible. So you expect the Transfusion to hit, and the Transfusion will deal a total of 4 damage. If he's got the double Transfusion, our block needs to be ahead of this. And it's not hard for him to be on the double Transfusion. Let's do this. Our best bet at this point is surviving this turn, open attacking next turn, and then hoping his win condition is either Decimate or Fervor, both of which we'd be able to counter. You'll notice one also interesting thing about Trifarian, which is that if we go to this last action where he went in on this, there's a real significant call to look at this spot where he goes in on the Demolitionist into the Disciple, and you saw I was thinking about fervoring that. The Trifarian is a really good Fervor target, because we can Fervor something that doesn't get denied by his counter Fervor, which can definitely matter in plenty of cases. So we're at 3. We can go ahead and like break hands of Decimate by doing this, which is pretty impactful. Technically, I should Might after the Demolitionist will like re-threaten that. So, I mean, it's sort of like somewhat a bit incorrect. But we beat a lot of hands here. He needs to have double Fervor, basically.
I'll try it.
I mean, if he has a single Fervor, then I lose by playing Fervor right now, whereas I could totally just beat it. I mean, he can't have double Fervor anymore. If he's got Demo, we're good. So he needs like a weird, ridiculous Transfusion hand to beat us now. Would be kind of like the single biggest thing. Okay. So, yeah, he needs basically double Fervor. Okay. So that's another mirror match where we're able to win without Basilisk Rider. I don't know. I'm not gonna like make the claim that this 40 card is definitively correct. It's still not perfect. It's still in need of adjustments. But hopefully, at least like, I don't know. I think in the last like hour, a lot of people that might have been like kind of really question marking the Trifarian and the lack of Darius. I don't know. Again, I'm not claiming that this is proof of anything. That's not what I'm trying to do. I personally believe these are improvements, but at the very least, my point is that it's not a solved deck. It's very far from a solved deck. And I think at the very least I've proven that, because all I'm trying to show is that there's ways for this to be built that could be better, even if, you know, we disagree on exactly how that farm is. I really don't like Darius. I really do like Trifarian over Draven. I think that's actually not even close. These stat differences are completely insane. Like, they matter so much more than anything this card could possibly provide. And the Allegiance odds being, like, not 7 Shadow Isles cards for no reason is, like, a pretty important direction as well. So, I like where we ended up.